Today, we're going to have a second iteration of the 2025 NFL mock draft. The first one was about 1.5 to 2 months ago. A lot has changed since then, since the draft order, and especially the prospects as well. If you aren't new to my channel and you've seen some of my videos before and you've enjoyed them, I'd be happy if you guys were to go underneath the video and hit the like and subscribe button. And if you aren't new, watch this video. If you enjoy it, also make sure to like and subscribe. We're posting NFL content, NBA content, college basketball, college football, all that type of stuff. And with the first overall pick, we're going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, my personal opinion on Travis Hunter, he's going to be my first overall pick, by the way. My personal opinion is that he's not the best wide receiver in this class. I would give that to Tetron McMillan, but he's also not the best cornerback in this class as well. I would also give that to Will Johnson out of Michigan. And maybe for Will Johnson, you can make the argument because of his recent knee injuries that he should be beneath Travis Hunter. But I think at one, it's going to be really hard to just pass on the best player in this draft class, whether or not he's not the best position or best at his specific position. I think it's going to be really tough for the Jaguars to pass at Travis Hunter with the first overall pick. This also would mark the third time that the Jaguars have had the first overall pick in the last 5 years. That's pretty bad. At pick 2, we have the New York Giants. This has to be quarterback. We're going to go Cam Ward. I think that was probably the last straw from Daniel Jones last week against the Carolina Panthers. Just not a good game over there in Germany. There's multiple clips surrounding TikTok, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, of him just missing wide open receivers, whether that's on a flea flicker, where he just tucks the ball and goes for the sack, or he has a clean pocket and he just sails it over their heads. Right now, the Giants are going to address the quarterback position. Adam Schefter has said that they're most likely moving on from Daniel Jones. Ryan Daboll has not committed to Daniel Jones for week 12, and for that reason, let's go Cam Ward and fix their quarterback problem. Pick 3, we have the Titans. This could also be a team that potentially targets quarterback, but I'm going to go T-Mac of Arizona. They want the closest thing to DeAndre Hopkins. T-Mac's going to be their guy. They lost Hopkins to the Chiefs at the trade deadline. T-Mac has similar physicals, also has great ball skills, and also is a solid separator of the wide receiver position. The Browns here at 4 could also maybe target quarterback, maybe Shedeur Sanders, but I'm actually going to have them target tackle with this pick in Will Campbell. Right now, their tackles in Jack Conklin, injury prone. Juwan Jones, not amazing. And then obviously we have Jedrick Wills, who's also been injury prone and just not good for the last couple of years. For that reason, let's get a guy on Will Campbell, who's been one of the best players in college football this season. And while he might have to move into guard, I would trust him at the tackle position. At 5, we have the Raiders. They're going to be very happy that both the Titans and the Browns did not target quarterback because they get their guy at 5 in Shedeur Sanders. There's been a lot of connections between the Raiders organization and Shedeur Sanders and Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, so I think it makes sense for the Raiders to target him at pick number 5. At 6, we have the New England Patriots. This is going to be tackle for me. Could see Kelvin Banks, maybe Cam Williams. I'm going to go Kelvin Banks out of Texas. I think that right now, what the Patriots are looking at right now, maybe they could target wide receiver, but I liked what I've seen out of their core this season. So let's go tackle and Kelvin Banks to hopefully be the long-term guy for Drake May. At 7, we have the New Orleans Saints. Just a week ago, we were at pick 3, and unfortunately, with a win over the Falcons, we dropped to pick number 7. I think it's just going to be best player available for them. It could be Will Johnson because we just lost Marshall Lattimore, but I'm going to go Mason Graham out of Michigan. When I tell you the Saints could absolutely target every single position in this year's draft, I'm being for real. We need absolutely everything. We're old. We're not good. Let's go get some replacements. Mason Graham, congratulations. You are a New Orleans Saint. At 8, we're going to have the New York Jets. This is going to stop the fall of Will Johnson. The reason I have him falling a little bit is just because of those knee issues. I still think he's a top 3 prospect in this draft class, but maybe some NFL front offices could kind of veer away from him because he has those knee issues. At 9, we're going to have the Carolina Panthers. I'm really going to look at edge for this one. I like Abdul Carter. I think he's the best edge in this draft class. I'm going to have him go number 9 to the Carolina Panthers. It's a guy for his first 2 years of his college career. He was playing potentially off-ball linebacker. But now he's been playing edge. He's been one of the best in college football. For the Dolphins here at 9, I'm going to target tackle. And because there are guys like Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell off the board, this might be a bit of a reach. But I'm going to go with Cam Williams out of Texas. This is a guy that I could also see potentially return to school just because he's young and he's dealt with some injuries so far this season. But the NFL is going to value his high potential, and it'll be enough for the Dolphins to pick him at pick number 10. At 11, we have the most obvious pick in this draft. It's going to be Ashton Jeanty to the Dallas Cowboys. Rico Dowdle does not make the cut. Ezekiel Elliott has not been good this season, and Deuce Vaughn is just not a running back one. Let's go get Ashton Jeanty, who's been potentially Heisman this season. At 12, we have another one that kind of just fell into their laps. It's going to be the Malachi Starks to the Indianapolis Colts. They really need defensive back, and Starks is arguably the best fit for them in this whole draft class. Bengals at 13 could potentially target receiver, interior defensive line, but I'm having go edge with the 13th overall pick. Trey Hendrickson leading the league in sacks right now, but he has some contract disputes. He might not even be there next season. And even if he is there next season, we could still get another guy to go on the opposite side of him. For me, that's going to be James Pierce out of Tennessee. It's a guy who, in the beginning of the season, we thought could have been the number one overall pick. Between then, he's had his ups and downs, but for the last 2 to 3 weeks, he's been elite. For that reason, he's back in the top 14. If you're a Texas A&M fan or a Nick Scoring fan, don't be too sad because he's going with this next pick to the Buccaneers at pick 14. I think right now he's probably still my edge number 2, but I think James Pierce with his recent performances has just gone a bit over him in the mock drafts. But Nick Scoring, number 14 to the Bucs, they desperately need edge help. The Seahawks at 15 could look at a couple positions, including interior offensive line, maybe a guy like Jonah Savanaia, maybe a tackle here in who are the available tackles right now. You have Josh Simmons, Ariante Ursary, but I'm actually going to go with one of my favorite players in this draft class. Maybe my favorite player in this draft class. It's just been someone I love to watch so far this season just because of how versatile he is on the defensive side of the ball. It's going to be Jalen Walker out of Georgia. Walker has been great as an off-ball linebacker, but has also been great as an edge rusher as well. Because the Seahawks need linebacker, I'm going to give him Jalen Walker. The Rams at 16 are going to target tackle. It's going to be Ariante Ursary for me out of Minnesota. Ursary has had a very underrated season, and I think for me, he's kind of gotten his name into the secure first round. 17 for the Bears, we're going to target another tackle. It's going to be Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Before Josh Simmons' injury, he was arguably a top 10 prospect in this draft class, but the injury is going to push him down the board just a little bit. But I think the Bears have potentially found a cornerstone at that tackle position at number 17. The 49ers at 18 are pretty mad that Ariante Ursary and Josh Simmons are not on the board, but we're still going to target cornerback in this one. I'm going to give them Siobhan Ravel out of East Carolina. Unfortunately, both Benjamin Morrison and Siobhan Ravel are injured this season. They're out for the whole season. But I think for Siobhan Ravel, he's going to stay in this draft class. I think he has to stay in this draft class. It's his last year of eligibility. But for a guy like Benjamin Morrison, who was a true junior this year, he's going to take his redshirt, I think, and return to school next year and potentially even boost his draft stock even more for the 2026 NFL draft. For the Broncos here at 19, we can see them target tight end potentially in a Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland. I'm going to go with the obvious one. We're going to go wide receiver. Give them Isaiah Bond out of Texas. He's been one of the best receivers in college football this season. At 20, we're going to have the Texans. This has to be interior offensive line, more specifically left guard, because it's been terrible for them this season. Give me Jonah Savanaia out of Arizona. He's been one of the best tackles interior offensive lineman this year. He's going to be able to play tackle at the next level, potentially even play center at the next level as well. He's one of the most versatile offensive linemen we have in this draft class. And I think the Texans are very happy he fell into their laps at pick number 20. At 21, we're going to have the Falcons. This is going to be edge all day for me. This is a team that needed edge last year, decided to take a quarterback, a 24-year-old quarterback at pick number 9. Give me Michael Williams out of Georgia. Him and Jalen Walker in that Georgia defense have been very fun to watch this season. I think it's an easy pick for the Falcons at 21. You desperately need the edge. 15, we have the Arizona Cardinals. This is a team that would really love if Jalen Walker fell to them, but unfortunately, I have him as one of the best prospects in this year's draft class. I think they could also sneakily target receiver here at pick 22. Luther Burden's still available. Emeka Egbuka is also still available. But I'm actually going to go linebacker. It's someone who's played very well throughout the last 2 weeks. It's going to be Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. Right now, through the true linebackers in this draft class, excluding guys like Jalen Walker, I think he's been the most successful at getting his name into the first round. Danny Stutzman, I don't think is a first rounder at this point. Harold Perkins, injured out for the season. Landry Barton, I'm not so sure. Barrett Carter is someone I can think about. Landry Barton also maybe someone I can think about as well. But I think Jihad Campbell right now has had the best case to be a first rounder, especially throughout the last couple weeks. At 23, we're going to have the Chargers. This is going to be tight ends, and I'm actually going to go with a different direction this time. I know I've preached Colston Loveland, but Tyler Warren right now, at 6'6", 261 pounds, is not just going to be able to receive, he's also going to be able to block as well, which is something that Jim Harbaugh is going to love at pick number 23. Even though he's passing on his Michigan guy in Colston Loveland, I think Tyler Warren is that good to go number 23. At 24, we're going to have the Packers. I actually want to get someone involved in this draft class who I haven't got involved yet. We could look at Kenneth Grant. We could also look at Deion Walker. Dante Corleone, even a Shamar Stewart. Give me Derek Harmon out of Georgia. He's been one of the biggest risers in this year's draft, partially because Oregon, I think I said Georgia, Oregon has been that good this season. He's been able to put his name on display, and he's been elite so far for the Ducks, and has been one of the reasons why they've been the best team in the country. The Commanders here at 25 are a team I could see target that cornerback position, though you just did add Marshawn Lattimore, so I think I'm going to veer away from that. I'm actually going to look at the edge slash interior defensive line at pick number 25. There are some good players available right now. I could see LT Overton out of Alabama. I could see Donovan Ezaraku out of Boston College. Even Princely Umanmielen out of Ole Miss. But I think at the end of the day, I might lean Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. He's again been one of the biggest risers in this year's draft class. And even though Texas A&M has done a terrible job at developing their edges over the last couple of years, Shamar Stewart has stood out for me to be a first round pick. At 26, we're going to have the Baltimore Ravens, a team I can also see go a couple different directions. I could look at the tackle position, even though I think at this point I don't want any of these guys to be first rounders. Could also look at the guard position as well. With Jonas Savanaia off the board, it might be tough to pick another guard in this class. Maybe you can think of Tyler Booker, but right now I would not have him as a first rounder. So I'm actually going to the cornerback spot at pick number 26 and take a look at guys like Jade Barron, like Tacario Davis here. And I'm actually going to go Jade Barron out of Texas. In the last couple of weeks, Barron has looked very good. And even since the start of the season, this has been a guy I've been wanting to get into the first round. Now, I will tell you this. If Davison Igbinosun was in this draft class for PFF, I have no idea why he's not on this website right now. I would 100% want him. But because for some reason he's not here, I'm going to go with Jade Barron. The Steelers here at pick 27 could go in a bunch of different directions. I think I'd like addressing wide receiver here with Luther Burden. Him still being on the board, I think it's a great pick for the Steelers. And with the core of Mike Williams, potentially if they bring him back next season, George Pickens, of course, and Luther Burden, I think they have something to base off of for the next couple of years. Even a guy like Calvin Austin as well. The Vikings here at pick 28 are going to target running back for me. This means two running backs in this year's draft class, but it's not going to be Quinshon Judkins. It's not going to be Marion Hampton. I'm actually going to head with Caleb Johnson with the 28th overall pick. We've been talking about Ashton Jeanty throughout the whole season, and he's been absolutely elite. But Caleb Johnson hasn't really been too far behind him. Also, a great season at Iowa. He's made this Iowa offense actually bearable, which is crazy to say. But Caleb Johnson, congratulations, you've done it. Eagles at 29, I'm going to go with LT Overton. This is a guy that's played at absolutely every single position in the front seven for Alabama this season. He's lined up at edge. He's lined up at tackle, defensive tackle. He's also lined up as linebacker. He's one of the most versatile players we have in this draft class. And at number 29, I think the Eagles have found someone to kind of move around the field. And I like it for the Eagles. The Bills here at 30 could also target the similar position that LT Overton could have brought. A couple guys I could look here. I really like the idea of maybe adding another interior defensive lineman. Kenneth Grant is still available, and I want to get him into my first round, even though he's definitely fallen down the board a little bit for me. Give me Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. A guy I recently had potentially in the top 10 has fallen down a bit for me, though. He hasn't had an amazing season, but I think he's still worth a first round pick. At 31, we have the Detroit Lions. I'm going to go edge again. I'm not going to let Princely Umanmielen fall out of the first round as well. He's been one of the nice surprises so far this season at Ole Miss, and I think he definitely deserves, like Kenneth Grant, to be in the first round. At 32, we're going to have the Kansas City Chiefs. Could go a couple different positions here. I like the idea of adding potentially another tackle because we have potential losses in guys like Trey Smith. But because there's not too many good value on the board, I'm going to go Colston Loveland out of Michigan just to get him into the first round, making sure I'm not missing anybody. Doesn't really look like it. Give me Colston Loveland out of Michigan to wrap up our first round. Any players that I might have had a little bit higher or lower than usual, Cam Ward at 2 has been the highest. Same thing with T-Mac. Anybody else that maybe had a little bit high? Cam Williams, just because he might return to school and he's also been dealing with some injuries. Other than that, maybe Jalen Walker at pick 15. But I thought this was a pretty simple mock draft. Should be an exciting one. I'm really excited for this 2025 draft just because of how many different possibilities there are with the quarterback position, with guys like Travis Hunter, Will Johnson. How will they be valued? But I'm very interested. This is the edges as well. Jewel Carter, James Pierce, Michael Williams, Nick Scorton. There's a lot of fun players in this year's draft class, and I hope you guys enjoyed this mock draft. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.